Emergency, Mom's had a heart attack. My husband's voice cracked with panic as he gripped his phone. We need to go home now. I stared at the pristine waters of the Maldives beach, watching our dream vacation crumble before my eyes. My name is Alexandra, and after 5 years of nonstop work and saving every penny, my husband James and I have finally managed to book our dream getaway. We'd been here exactly 26 hours. What happened? I asked, already knowing who had made the emergency call. Linda, my mother-in-law, had spent the last month trying to sabotage this trip. Dad says she collapsed at home. James was already shoving things into our suitcase, his hands shaking. They're taking her to St. Mary's Hospital. Alex, we have to go. I took a deep breath, memories of the past 5 years flooding back. Every time James and I had planned something for ourselves, Linda had found a way to interfere. Our weekend trips mysteriously coincided with her emergencies. Our date nights were interrupted by her urgent needs for help with basic household tasks. But a heart attack? This was a new level even for her. Of course, I said, keeping my voice steady. I'll start packing while you book the flights. As James rushed to call the airlines, I looked at our hotel room, the overwater bungalow we dreamed about for years. The champagne we planned to drink at sunset sat unopened. The snorkel gear we'd rented for tomorrow's reef tour lay untouched. My phone buzzed with a message from my best friend Emma, who worked as a nurse at St. Mary's. Your MIL just walked into the ER demanding immediate attention. She's shouting about chest pains, but she drove herself here and seems energetic. I stared at the message, my suspicions confirmed. But how could I tell James? He was already in a panic, talking about cashing in our vacation insurance and paying whatever it took to get home immediately. Got us on the next flight, James announced, his face pale with worry. We leave in 3 hours. It's going to cost a fortune, but Mom needs us. I sat down on the bed, choosing my next words carefully. James, before we leave, I think we should call the hospital directly. He frowned. Dad already told us what's happening. We don't have time to. Please, I said firmly, just call the hospital. Ask about her condition. Maybe it was something in my tone, or maybe deep down he had his own doubts. But James picked up his phone. I watched as he dialed St. Mary's and asked about Linda Mitchell. The color drained from his face as he listened. What do you mean she's arguing with the triage nurse? I thought, Dad said she had a heart attack. I pulled out my phone and showed him Emma's message. James sat down heavily beside me, the realization hitting him hard. She's faking it, he whispered, more a statement than a question. She's actually faking a heart attack to bring us home. Before I could respond, another message from Emma popped up. You need to see this. I'm sending you security footage from the ER entrance. Your MIL parked in the ambulance bay, fixed her makeup, then stumbled in clutching her chest. The performance would be impressive if it wasn't so manipulative. The video loaded, and there she was, Linda, parking her Mercedes precisely between the lines, checking her reflection in the rearview mirror, and then transforming into a woman in desperate medical distress as soon as she opened the car door. James watched the footage in silence, his expression shifting from shock to anger. 5 years, he said finally. For 5 years, every time we tried to do something for ourselves, she's pulled something like this. But this is too far. I wrapped my arm around his shoulders, feeling his body tremble with a mix of emotions. I'm so sorry, James. No, he said, standing up suddenly. I'm the one who's sorry. Sorry I let her manipulate us for so long. Sorry I didn't see what she was doing. He picked up his phone again, but this time his hands were steady. I need to make 2 calls, one to cancel our emergency flights and one to tell my mother exactly what I think about her little performance. I watched as he stepped out onto our private deck, phone in hand. The sun was setting over the ocean, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. We hadn't lost our vacation after all, but something had shifted. For the first time in our marriage, James was truly seeing his mother's behavior for what it was. My phone buzzed again. Another update from Emma. Hospital security is getting involved. Your MIL is demanding to be admitted despite normal vitals and clear EKG. She keeps saying her son is flying home to be with her, and the hospital will be sorry if they discharge her before you arrive. I couldn't help but smile. Linda had finally overplayed her hand, and she had no idea what was coming. James's voice carried through the glass doors of our bungalow as he confronted his mother. I've seen the security footage, Mom. The hospital sent it to us. How could you do this? I could hear Linda's shrill protests even from where I sat. Security footage? That's private medical information. I'll sue them. I'm having a medical emergency, and you're abandoning me for some vacation. A medical emergency? James's voice grew harder than I'd ever heard it. The footage shows you parking your car, checking your makeup, and then pretending to collapse. The doctors say there's nothing wrong with you. Those doctors don't know anything. I raised you better than this, James. What kind of son chooses a beach over his dying mother? I watched as James gripped the balcony railing, his knuckles turning white. You're not dying, Mom. You're lying. Just like you lied about needing emergency plumbing repairs during our anniversary dinner. Just like you lied about falling down the stairs when we tried to go camping last summer. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Linda's voice came back, smaller but somehow more venomous. That girl has turned you against me. Alexandra never understood our family's closeness. She's always tried to come between us. Stop. James cut her off. Alex has put up with your manipulation for 5 years. She's never complained, never tried to come between us. But I see it now, Mom. I see everything. Emma sent another update. Your MIL just threw her phone at a nurse when they suggested she was having an anxiety attack rather than a heart attack. Security's been called again. I stepped out onto the deck, placing a gentle hand on James's shoulder. He leaned into my touch, still holding the phone. I'm done, Mom, he said firmly. We're staying on our vacation. If you actually have a medical emergency, the doctors at St. Mary's are more than capable of handling it. But this manipulation, these lies, they stop now. You'll regret this, Linda hissed. When something really happens to me, you'll wish you'd been a better son. No, Mom. The only thing I regret is not standing up to you sooner. Goodbye. He ended the call and turned to me, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. I'm so sorry, Alex. I should have seen it years ago. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed with a message from his father. Your mother's being escorted out of the hospital. She's hysterical. Please come home and help deal with this. James looked at the message, then at me, then at the beautiful sunset over the ocean. For a moment, I saw the old uncertainty cross his face, the ingrained response to rush to his mother's aid. You know what? He said, putting his phone on silent and placing it face down on the deck table. Dad enabled her behavior just as much as I did. They can handle this themselves. Emma's updates kept coming. Your MIL is now in the parking lot, telling anyone who'll listen that her son is abandoning her on her deathbed. Hospital security has informed her she'll be trespassing if she comes back without an actual emergency. I couldn't help but laugh, and after a moment, James joined in. The tension of the last few hours broke like a wave, leaving behind something lighter, cleaner. Do you know what I want to do? James asked, pulling me close. I want to open that champagne we've been saving. I want to sit on this deck with my wife, watch the sunset, and start living our life without jumping at my mother's every call. Are you sure? I asked softly. This is a big change. He kissed my forehead, his embrace steady and sure. I've never been more sure of anything. Well, except marrying you. As we sat there, watching the sky turn from gold to purple, our phones kept buzzing with updates. Linda had called every family member, spinning a tale of abandonment and betrayal. James's father sent increasingly demanding messages. Even Linda's sister chimed in, berating James for his callousness. But for the first time in our marriage, we let the drama wash past us like the waves below our bungalow. James turned to me, his eyes clear and determined. I think it's time we set some real boundaries, he said. Not just for this vacation, but for our life together. I nodded, feeling a hope I hadn't dared to embrace in years. What did you have in mind? First, no more emergency responses without verification. Second, we start making plans for our life. Real plans that don't revolve around my mother's latest crisis. And third, he smiled, a hint of mischief in his eyes. We turn off our phones and enjoy the rest of the sunset properly. As the last rays of sun painted the sky, I curled into James's embrace, feeling the warmth of more than just the tropical evening. Something had shifted, not just in our vacation, but in our marriage. Linda's latest manipulation hadn't ruined our trip. It had given us something far more valuable than a week in paradise. It had given us our freedom. The rest of our vacation was everything we dreamed of and more. Without Linda's constant interruptions, James and I rediscovered what it felt like to just be us. We snorkeled through coral reefs, had candlelit dinners on the beach, and spent long afternoons doing absolutely nothing but enjoying each other's company. But reality waited for us back home, and Linda wasn't done yet. When we landed at the airport, Emma was waiting for us with news. "Your MIL has been busy," she said, hugging me tight. "She's been at the hospital 3 more times, each time with a different emergency. They finally had to threaten her with legal action to make her stop." James just shook his head, no longer surprised by his mother's antics. "And Dad? How's he handling it?" "He's been calling everyone, trying to fix things," Emma replied. "But something interesting happened while you were gone. The hospital's patient advocacy team got involved after your MIL's performance. They're recommending she get psychological help." As we drove home, we found our house surrounded by family members' cars. Linda had apparently called an intervention. "Ready?" I asked James, seeing his jaw tighten. He squeezed my hand. "More than ready." Inside, Linda sat in our living room like a queen holding court, surrounded by concerned relatives. She'd been crying, her makeup strategically smeared for maximum effect. "My own son," she wailed when she saw us. "Look what she's done to him. He left his mother to die while he played on a beach." James's father stood up, his face stern. "Son, this has gone far enough. Your mother needs—" "No, Dad," James cut him off. "What Mom needs is professional help. We've all seen the hospital footage. We all know what really happened." Linda's sister gasped. "What hospital footage?" I pulled out my phone, playing the video Emma had sent. The room fell silent as they watched Linda parking perfectly, checking her makeup, then dramatically stumbling into the ER. That's not." Linda sputtered, but for once, she had no story ready. "There's more," James said quietly. "The hospital has documentation of every fake emergency you've created over the past 5 years. Every time you've tried to manipulate us, every lie you've told. They're recommending psychiatric evaluation." The room erupted in chaos. Linda burst into fresh tears. But this time, fewer people rushed to comfort her. Her sister, who had always taken her side, sat back with a thoughtful look on her face. "We're not doing this anymore," James announced, his voice carrying over the commotion. "Alex and I are setting boundaries. No more emergency calls without verification. No more dropping everything because Mom feels lonely. And if you want to be part of our lives, you need to get help." Linda tried one last tactic. "After everything I've sacrificed for you." "The only thing you've sacrificed," I finally spoke up, "is your relationship with your son. But you can still fix that, if you're willing to do the work." The silence that followed was heavy with possibility. James's father was the first to move, walking over to stand beside his son. "She's right," he said quietly. "Linda, this has to stop. I've already made an appointment with Dr. Carter. We're going to counseling together." Linda looked around the room, realizing for the first time that her audience was no longer automatically on her side. Her sister was nodding along with James's father. Even her closest allies were looking at her with new eyes. I just didn't want to lose you," she whispered to James. "Mom, you were losing me anyway," he replied gently. "Every manipulation, every lie, every ruined moment, they all pushed me further away. The only way to keep me in your life is to get help and start building honest relationships." 6 months later, our lives look very different. Linda started therapy, reluctantly at first, but gradually with more commitment. She still struggles with boundaries, but now there are consequences when she crosses them. We've had peaceful family dinners, uninterrupted date nights, and even a weekend getaway without a single emergency call. Last week, she did something that shocked us all. She apologized. Not a manipulative, self-pitying apology, but a real one, acknowledging the harm she caused and the work she still needs to do. "I was so afraid of being alone," she admitted during a family session. "I thought if I kept you close, kept you needing me, I'd never lose you. Instead, I was pushing you away." James and I still have the sunset photo from that evening in the Maldives framed in our living room. It reminds us of more than just a beautiful moment. It marks the day we finally broke free from the chains of manipulation and started living life on our own terms. Sometimes the best endings don't tie everything up perfectly. Linda is still working on herself, and we're still learning how to navigate our new boundaries. But now, when our phones ring, we don't feel that instant dread. We're no longer waiting for the next crisis, the next emergency, The next manipulation. We're just living our lives together, exactly as we should have been all along.